Leadership to me is a motivational organization that provides direction and is goal-oriented and can help break down any barriers that might be in your way. Management can literally just be a layer of people above you. Could be because they've been there longer than you. I don't really consider management maybe an earned position. I think leadership is definitely an earned position because you choose to give that person who may or may not be your manager your respect, and you can follow them and they motivate you. So leadership is something about that person, their style, their communication, their skill set that makes you want to mimic them, follow them, uh, produce for them. So I consider leadership somebody that I want to follow, whereas I consider management somebody that is just simply hierarchically above me. I think it's really important to set expectations, communicate those expectations, touch base with employees so that when and if they are not meeting up to your expectations, you can at first gently guide them there, and later on, if they still aren't catching on, then have, a serious conversation that says, this is what I'm expecting you to do. This is what you're currently doing. I need you to get up to this level. So I think you can't over communicate in a situation like that. But then at the end of the day, if an employee has been given notice that and then opportunity that they're not living up to expectations, and in a fair environment when they've been coached and mentored and still aren't cutting it, then I think ultimately you cut them loose because they're probably not fit for that role. I try to have a fun leadership style. I spend so much time at work, as do my coworkers, that if I'm going to be here, I want to make it as fun as possible. I am productive, very goal oriented, but you can certainly intermix along the way fun activities, team building opportunities. So I think you can be fun, but you can also set clear goals and expectations so that regardless of how much fun you're having, as long as the work is getting done, that's a good thing. You can't let fun overtake the goals, but I haven't had that problem yet. So far, it's been a good mix. So I try to be a leader that leads by example. I have fun every day. I communicate every day, and I try to engage everybody that works with me, every day if I can, and make sure that people like what they do and understand why they're doing what they're doing, and making sure we're all working towards the same common goal. I view leadership as a pretty serious responsibility. If people are reporting to you, then they are under your care, and I feel like it is your opportunity and responsibility to mentor them and give them a clear set of directions, and circle back around and make sure that they understand what they're doing, and give feedback, positive and negative feedback. So I view leadership as something that it's a privilege. You earn it. People choose or choose not to follow you and be part of your team. So it's a responsibility to make sure that you're growing the employee, growing their skill set, and eventually pointing them in other directions so that everybody that works for me, I try to make sure they're building their internal resume so that if they need to leave, they're in a good position to market themselves in a different area. So I think you're a good leader if your employees become as cross-trained as possible, as productive as possible, and grow their skill set as much as they possibly can. I look for people that inspire me. I look for people that I respect. I look for people that have the same moral compass that I do. I look for people that energize me, and I look for people that can help break down barriers. It's also very important to me that my leader allow me the freedom to pursue uh, the work that I need to do without interference. I look to a leader to only break down barriers for me, or set a direction for me and then let me fly with it, because I feel like that's how you grow the most, when you have to figure things out for yourself. I do think my children, all three of them, are leaders. I think it started at an early age to be well spoken, to use critical thinking, to have high energy, and to help direct teams or play groups or sports teams that they were on. I think both their father and I set a good example to be involved, participate, and I think it's my philosophy that there are leaders and there are followers in the world. And I think it's a natural, some people just have a natural ability and inclination to help set direction and lead others. So you have to take that as a responsibility and make sure that you're doing a good job for everybody. I think it just came natural to raise my children as leaders. That's who I am. That's who their father is. So I think the example was always there, whether it was subtle or overt. They saw us be leaders in organizations, volunteer organizations, church, school, um, academic, athletic organizations. We were always people that were leading the charge. So I think it's natural that the children watch you do that and then they want to mimic you. I think it's awesome. I think that a lot of it has to do with the environment that you're in. I will say that my current job, the gentlemen that own and run this company seem to be gender neutral. They do not really see a woman or a man, so it's been an excellent opportunity for me here. I think that other areas that I've been in, I have felt the gender gap more, and more of a cliquey old boy network. So I think that I've always worked hard. I've always produced excellent results. I think, though, that there can be some exclusivity, and I think you just have to be open to, having time, whether it be, in a social setting, on a golf course, at dinner. You just have to be able to exert yourself and have people understand the value that you bring to the table, and don't get it too much in your head that you're the only woman in a group of, say, six. Because I found myself in that situation throughout my entire career. I always seemed to be the youngest and the only woman in the group I was in, and I never really let that bother me. So a lot of it's a mindset, but it's also can be cultural too. My advice for women who want to be in power is to be comfortable with who you are and with what you offer. I was always able to play sports with boys or cards with guys or what have you, and a lot of it just comes down to the fact that I'm comfortable with who I am, so therefore I'm comfortable with the group setting that I'm in, and I never really let it bother me if I was the only woman in the group. I think you have to I think not to be pushy, but to make sure that people understand your value, your contribution to the team, and uh, want your make them want what you bring to the table as part of the team, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman. So my advice is to be comfortable, do your part, do your job, and do it well, and so that others don't see you as a female. They just see you as a highly capable individual, able to get the task done. I think there's a learning curve in any new role that you play, but I'd have to say I have been a leader my entire life, back to, you know, being on the playground, being the leader in Foursquare, to being team captain of the sports teams I played in. I think a lot of it just comes back to being a natural leader. But I will say I certainly have evolved as a leader. It's more important that I get input and collaboration from everybody on my team, and to really truly listen to the input rather than imposing what my thoughts, my views are. My leadership style is I will have a thought in mind, but before I will communicate what my thought is, I get input from the whole team, because now it's less about me leading them as it is as me guiding or re-educating if that needs to be done. I've had a lot of mentors in my life. I think you can learn something from just about anybody that you work with or cross paths with. I wouldn't say there's any one person. There are people that I thought were the most intelligent people I've ever worked with. There are people that I thought their principles were something that I wanted to mimic. There were people that were just so much fun to be around. I wanted to be part of their team. I wanted to mimic that and replicate that when I had my team. There's generous leaders that just know how to handle any situation, and kind and compassionate. I just wanted to take the best of everything I saw and all the people that inspired me, and try to turn that around and give it back to the teams that help work with me right now. My strongest quality as our leader is I am fun. I am not afraid to communicate bad news. I am a really good trainer, and I take it very serious to grow everybody's skill set. So I think the people that report to me understand that even if what I am saying to them, it seems critical, they understand it's so that I can help them get better at what they do. I'm a big believer in cross training, and so that can be a little disruptive. A lot of people don't like change to their jobs, but I think you're a more valuable employee if you do go through that effort and learn other people's jobs. And then you can always take that with you to your next assignment. You can always just constantly build on all your skill sets, because you never know when you're going to need to refer back to something you've done in the past to accomplish a new task. My weaknesses are I can be very opinionated, and I've tried to temper that with listening more and speaking less. I think that was a growth opportunity for me over the years. And other weaknesses are that I work fast, I think fast, and I want that type of expediency from the people that work with me, and sometimes it's just not fair. Everybody learns and operates at a different level, and just to be a little sensitive to that is something that I'm working on. I want my subordinates to view me as somebody that is capable and considerate and caring and compassionate and motivating. And I think my subordinates would tell you that I will tell them like it is. And I set goals for everybody. Every quarter, I bring every person that works for me into my office, give them an opportunity to talk to me about how we think things went last quarter and the goals we're setting for the next quarter. So I believe in an open door policy, and I try to foster an environment where folks know they can come in anytime, ask me anything. I think people are definitely born with leadership qualities and tendencies, and just an ease of having others follow you. I think anybody can benefit from learning how to be a better leader, a more effective leader. I do think there are those individuals that aren't comfortable being leaders, shouldn't be put in that position. I think the goal of leadership is to find the perfect fit for an employee, so match their skill set with their desires and with their natural talents. The best advice I think I have ever received is figure out a way to make it happen. I have always taken pride in the fact that my peers and my management have said, she has a can-do attitude, and that has served me well. And I gravitate towards people that when there's a task before us, and even if it's a hard task, or especially if it's a hard task, I really appreciate those folks that come forward and say, you know what, we can get it done. So just tackle the hurdles in front of you. Communicate effectively to people around you. Don't be afraid to say you need help or you need somebody to break this barrier or that barrier down, but challenge it like you challenge life. Make the most of the opportunity, learn as much as you can from it, and get it done.